Hi, welcome to our channel, Programming of Mind, where we accelerate your knowledge with concise, from high-value book summaries. Let's begin. The realization of oneness, transcending duality. By this point in his journey, Ravi had come to recognize a deep, undeniable truth. Everything in life was interconnected. The boundaries he once believed existed between himself and others, between himself and the world, had begun to dissolve. His experiences had led him to a profound realization of oneness, the understanding that there was no true separation between the self and the universe. This realization was not just intellectual. It was a deep, experiential knowing that transcended the mind and reached into the heart and soul. Ravi had learned that the seeming dualities of the world, good and bad, light and dark, joy and sorrow, were merely illusions created by the mind. The deeper reality was that everything in existence was part of the same unified consciousness. The ego, which once defined him as a separate individual, had begun to lose its grip. He saw now that true freedom came not from fighting against duality, but from transcending it altogether. The illusion of separation, embracing the unity of all. Ravi's first experience of this oneness came one afternoon when he was meditating by the river. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow across the water. The sound of the flowing river, the rustling of the leaves in the trees, and the distant calls of birds created a symphony of nature. Ravi closed his eyes and focused on his breath, allowing himself to sink deeper into stillness. As he meditated, something unexpected happened. He began to feel as though he was no longer just a person sitting by the river. He became the river, the trees, the sky, and the earth beneath him. There was no longer a boundary between Ravi, the person, and the world around him. The sense of separation dissolved, and in its place, he felt a profound connection to everything. It was as though the universe itself had whispered to him, "You are not separate from this. You are this." In that moment, Ravi understood something that had always been present, but had never been fully realized. The sense of separation that people so often feel, the belief that they are individuals separate from each other and from the world, was an illusion. The truth was that everything, every being, every object was an expression of the same divine energy. This realization did not come as a fleeting thought. It was a deep, visceral experience that transcended words. Ravi realized that the divisions people created between themselves and others, between nations and cultures, between rich and poor, were all the result of the mind's tendency to categorize and divide. In the reality of oneness, there was no separation. There was only unity, transcending duality, embracing both light and darkness. As Ravi continued to reflect on his experiences, he began to understand the nature of duality in a more profound way. For much of his life, he had struggled with the dualities of good and bad, light and dark. He had tried to avoid pain, suffering, and negativity, believing that they were things to be feared and rejected. But as his awareness deepened, he realized that the dualities of life were not opposites, but complementary aspects of the same reality. He remembered a conversation he had had with an elderly monk at the ashram years earlier. The monk had said, "Ravi, the world is a dance of opposites. Light and darkness, joy and sorrow, birth and death, they are not enemies. They are two sides of the same coin. Without one, the other cannot exist." At the time, Ravi had found this teaching difficult to accept. How could suffering and joy, light and darkness, be part of the same truth? But now, as he reflected on the experiences of his own life, he began to understand. The very experiences that had once seemed painful or difficult had served to deepen his understanding of the world and himself. The contrast between light and darkness had allowed him to recognize the brilliance of true inner peace. Ravi understood that duality was not something to be fought against or rejected. It was part of the divine play of life. Just as day follows night, and the seasons shift from summer to winter, the contrasts in life were necessary for spiritual growth. The key was in embracing both aspects, light and dark, joy and sorrow, as part of the same unfolding reality. He remembered a time when he had faced a personal loss. A dear friend had passed away. At first, Ravi had been devastated by the grief. But as the days passed, he began to realize that the sorrow he felt was not separate from the love he had shared with his friend. The grief was the other side of the coin of love. Without the capacity to grieve, he would not have been able to experience the depth of his love. Through this experience, Ravi learned to embrace both sides of life's dualities, understanding that they were not opposing forces but complementary parts of the same whole. The key was to move beyond judgment and to accept all experiences as part of the larger divine plan. Living in oneness, the unseen connection between all. One evening, as Ravi was walking through the village, he passed by a group of people who were gathered around a fire, sharing stories. There was laughter in the air, and the warmth of the fire seemed to draw people together. As he approached, one of the villagers, a woman named Priya, greeted him with a smile. "Ravi ji," she said, "come, sit with us. We are sharing stories of our ancestors." Ravi joined the group and sat by the fire. As the stories were shared, he felt a deep sense of connection to the people around him. He realized that these were not just individuals with separate lives. They were expressions of the same divine energy. Their joys, their struggles, their laughter, and their tears were all part of the same cosmic dance. As he sat there, he understood that the boundaries that separated him from others were not real. He was no different from the people around him. He was no different from the trees, the animals, or the stars in the sky. All of life was an interconnected web, and each person, each being, played a unique role in the grand unfolding of a universe. The feeling of oneness that had arisen during his meditation by the river was now present in every interaction he had. He no longer saw others as separate from himself. Every person he met was an expression of the same divine consciousness that flowed through him. There was no them and me anymore. There was only us, only the divine manifesting in countless forms. Unity in diversity, the beauty of all paths. As Ravi continued to reflect on the nature of oneness, he began to understand something else. True unity did not require uniformity. Just as the different instruments in an orchestra contribute to the beauty of the symphony, the diversity of human experiences, cultures, and beliefs all contributed to the richness of life. Oneness did not mean that everyone had to think, act, or live in the same way. It meant that there was a deeper, universal truth that transcended all external differences. Ravi recalled a conversation with a fellow seeker, a man named James, who had traveled from the West to study in the ashram. James was a Christian, and his beliefs were different from Ravi's, but the two had shared many conversations about spirituality. One day, James had said to Ravi, "I believe that Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. But I can see that you follow a different path. Do you think we are all seeking the same truth?" Ravi had smiled, understanding the question in a deeper way now than he had before. "Yes, James," he replied. "We may walk different paths, but they all lead to the same truth. The divine is not limited to one religion or one way of worship. It is beyond all names and forms. What matters is not the outward form, but the inward realization that we are all one with the divine." Thank you for listening, and please like the video and subscribe for more great upcoming content that will put you in top 1% people in the world.